going to just touch on a few things here. One of them in terms of consistency of routine and cow throughput. I'm a stickler on when the first cow is at the first stall, and especially if there's 2 milkers or more, that first milker should be prepping that cow within less than 30 seconds. All too often I've seen loading of the parlor become like a group routine where both milkers are working together. If their animals are there to be prepped, they need to start prepping them to make sure we get them through. We also need to be vigilant as owners and managers of what's going on in the parlor. If you look at the picture in the lower right, can you guys see what's going on there? So this is a larger, older style herringbone. Where are the milkers standing? Can you guys actually tell? They're actually standing on the pipeline to get up, to reach in and prep the cow. So number one, biggest issue is safety. But number two, 1,300 cows are going through this parlor. You think it impacts how many they're getting through? I mean, it's huge. So being able to realize and recognize this is huge. It's an older facility, and it's something that we need to change and adapt to. But having your numbers on the phone or going into dairy comp and it's telling you you're only getting 3.8 and you want 4.4 turns, you can't see this. So it's really important to be able to get in there and see that. This is an analysis that I provide when I go through and do it, and I like to use colors. Green is good, yellow is caution, and red is bad. And after every parlor analysis, this is something I provide to clients. I look at how much time it takes from when the first cow hits the first stall, the entrance stall to the first stall. I time that to see is that why we're not achieving our goal. On here, this was a double 10. Loading was not an issue, so it's green. It was taking them 48 seconds after the first cow hit the first stall until they started the prep. To me, that's an area of caution, or red. We need to go focus on that. Dip contact time was almost a minute. This was a this was a double 12. And it was a 6 cow routine. The first cow, the lag time was at 1:38, and the 6th cow was at 1:20. Is that an issue? So one of them we had 98 seconds, the other one we only had 80. It tells me that in this 2-pass process that the dip and strip was taking longer than the dry and attach, because the 6th cow was getting a shorter lag time than the first cow. Again, you won't notice this. Those 6 cows, if you actually put on a lactocorder and look at some milk flow graphs, we may have lower peak yield or peak flow, so on. So the biggest area that I monitor now is what I call the wait time for the second to last and the last cow. Why is that important? If we're holding up 2 stalls for 20, is that going to add up over time? Yeah, so in this farm we were actually waiting 1:25 and then 1:50 from when the third to last unit came off to the second to last was 1:25, and then from the third to the last was 1:50. How can we get that down to like 30 seconds? What about moving all slow milking cows to a pen? Do we have to have milk meters or cow identification to identify slow milkers? How many say we need that? I say you don't. You don't need anything other than tail chalk. Once a week you can have your milkers stripe the last 2 cows on every side of the parlor, go walk your pens, and you can identify quickly who the slow cows are. If this cow comes up 2 or 3 weeks in a row, move them all to one pen, and then you'll have slow milkers in one pen. They'll affect 4 turns of your parlor instead of if 10 or 12 of them are in all 5 pens or whatever it is. You're now impacting every turn. So major players, just to wrap up, Cow throughput, so let's make sure we can get cows loading properly. It may require shielding of entrances. Non-milking time, so making sure we have dip, towels, everything we need in the parlor. A slow milking pen, possibly going to 2x on hospital cows or late lactation, if we're really looking at throughput as one of our goals. Detacher settings. I am going to stand up here and say that dairy industry wide, we over milk cows. If you haven't went out and done hand strip yields to determine how much milk is left in the udder after milking, I think it's something you need to do to determine, are we over milking cows? It's in those situations at the end of milking when we have no milk flow, that's when damage to the teat occurs. Milk is actually a cushion. If you look at the physics of it, milk is a cushion to the teat. When we have no milk and a liner opening and closing with vacuum, that's when we damage the teat. It's not under situations of milk flow. So getting the unit off earlier is going to be beneficial. No empty parlor stalls. There's nothing that's like nails on a chalkboard to me than walking into a parlor. I don't care if it's a double 6 or a double 40. If I see 2 cows in there and the rest of them are open at the end of a pen, it's really not efficient. In the end, as I was talking in terms of observations, we have to be in the milking center to look at theory versus reality. Theory is just numbers, and in order to support why that's happening, we have to be there to physically observe it, hear it, see it. Observations and numbers are reality, and that is it. I think I'm like 3 minutes over.
Thank you, Rick. Any last questions for Rick before we wind up this morning?
You didn't say here, what's that goal for the milk left 48 ounces?
Oh, so if you're going to do hand strip yields afterwards, after milking, to determine are you over milking or not, we need to go out with a measuring cup, hand strip for 15 seconds on each quarter. So we do left hind, left front. You can do right hind, right front. Afterwards, we need to have between 150 and 250 milliliters or 5 to 8 ounces of milk. You need to have 80% of your cows above the 5 ounce mark. If not, you're over milking and you can actually set your detachers wetter. So.
You're saying 5 to 8 ounces of milk total for
All 4 quarters. And I would document, if you can, a couple things that can impact this. Number one, when I do this, I write down stall number, because if you have faulty detachers, it's going to affect the number for the cow. And the second thing is you may want to start looking at unit alignment. If you find out that a cow on 3 quarters has nothing, but on 1 quarter has 6 ounces, your unit may be misaligned, which could be machine or milker. I mean, that's so. And if there's more questions, I'll be around afterwards if people want to
Great.
chat.
Thank you very much, Rick. An excellent presentation with lots of good practical stuff we can take back to the farm and put into use.